Hey, today's guest is Alex Lisot, a former F-15 Eagle driver turned entrepreneur, real estate investor, and global businessman. Graduate of the Air Force Academy, he served in multiple locations before launching several ventures across 6 continents. I guess Antarctica wasn't profitable. From e-commerce to real estate. Now, as the founder of Master the Military, he's on a mission to help veterans unlock the full value of their service, from unclaimed benefits to a long-term wealth building. He's working on his MBA at London Business School and is focused on scaling impact driven business decisions that empower the veteran community while building bridges globally. He's also a rescue diver, DJ, and husband, proving that purpose and adventure can go hand in hand. Welcome, sir. How are you this fine day, calling us from London?
Doing very well. Sitting in London. It's raining. It's dark. It's cold. The sun is already setting, and it's 5 p.m. So how
Status
we doing?
quo.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I've got a blizzard going on, so good for you.
yeah. I guess I can't complain too much then.
Awesome. Hey, so I'll start out with a quick question. From Eagle driver to founder, what was your inspiration from the military to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So for me personally, everybody has different goals, but I had three criteria for starting my own business. Was one, I wanted to be completely location independent. Two, I didn't want to actively trade my time for money. And three, I had to do something that was lucrative enough to support my lifestyle. So using that as a framework, as a starting point, that rules out 99.9% of things out there, and you're left with only a few things, with entrepreneurship being the main one, and then only particular business models with that as well.
Good stuff. So, can you just kind of give a synopsis of, because I know obviously, but all the places you've lived and what you've done to pay the bills along the way?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so short version of it is what everybody says before they talk 10 minutes. But yeah, I got out of the military back in 2019, started an e-commerce business. I met a gal right at the end of my last assignment who's now my wife. So she's British. She has a funny accent. My kids are British as well. But yeah, started this e-commerce business. She and I bought one-way plane tickets to Bangkok, and we started backpacking around the world with the idea we were leaving for a little bit, and then we ended up never looking back. So we started making money that way. The e-commerce company grew and grew, and yeah, it just turned into something that was full-blown, supported our lifestyle everywhere we went. Had a kid, slowed things down a little bit. We lived in the Middle East for a little while. Started a holiday homes company out there as well. Had a second kid, slowing down even more. That's why we're back in the UK because we've got the grandparents down the road. If any of you all have kids here, I see some people nodding along. Yes, you understand how helpful that can be. So it was the right time for me to jump into the MBA. But also along the way, like I've kind of had a few different chapters, like you mentioned there in the start to this, but the first one was mission. So was in the military. And no matter who you talk to in the military, realistically, at the end of the day, you don't make that much money in the military. Nobody joins the military because of the amazing pay, right? So got out of the military and thought, okay, now all I'm going to focus on is money. I want to be able to support myself and my family. But what do I need to do to max perform? How do I make money, make money, make money? And been reasonably successful with that over the years, which is great. But something that I've found personally is going from a place where you're very mission oriented to all of a sudden just caring about money, which is something a lot of you all are going to find when you get out of the military. Um, After a while, it's kind of diminishing returns on fulfillment, you know? So from there, I then started my most recent venture called Master the Military, which is something where I'm putting the two together. So this is where it's something that's very mission focused, which is helping military members and veterans achieve financial freedom by utilizing their veteran benefits as a starting point. And then two, making money along the way to support not just myself, but my family and helping other people do it as well. So I guess kind of as Ernie, do you want me just kind of,
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah,
tell us about your gig, Master
just,
Military.
okay, rocking and rolling,
Go
shooting from
for
the
it,
hip
man.
here. Yeah. Cool. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you everybody for being here, paying attention, being awake. I'm not sure what number person am I today? How many people have you guys
Two.
sat through
You're the
already?
second one.
Oh, I'm number two. Okay,
You're the two. Yep.
awesome, great. So everybody's got their coffee. We haven't had lunch yet. That is great. High probability of some people staying awake at least. Well, so I'll start out then, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to talk about stuff completely different than anyone else is going to talk about on here because I am not trying to get you a job. Uh, Realistically, I think right now the job market out there is horrible and it's about to get 1,000 times horrible. I'm kind of at the front edge of seeing what's happening with AI by sitting in business school right now. So this is like the one of the top tier, like top ranked business schools on the planet, sitting in London. So a lot of the AI revolution is happening here. And we have speakers come and talk to us from these companies that are explaining what's coming down the pipeline. And it's just, it's insane. So good luck. But the good news, what I want to tell you, is something that we have as military members and veterans that no one else has access to are these amazing benefits that you have already earned. You already did it. You served. You've got it. You just need to figure out how to access it. And I don't know about you all, but when I went through TAP or TAPS in the Air Force, I didn't learn a single thing about how to live or survive in the outside world. So as just kind of a starting point, if you guys want to check out, we've got this community. You can go to school. Here, I'll type it in the chat right here, just so you have an idea, and you'll see why I'm doing this. Let's turn on the military. I didn't even make that a hyperlink. I don't even know what I'm doing here. But yeah, so
I'll do it.
if you guys want to have a look right there, it has a little bit of information about what we're doing at Master the Military. And I'll tell you what, I've got a cool thing going on right now. If you do pay attention to this and you stay awake and you listen to this near the very end, we're offering a really big discount right now for anyone that wants to get involved. And I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek because you'll see if you hang on and see what we got going on. But what I really want to get into here is not bore you with a ton of details, but I want you to understand that as the job market gets worse and worse, you need to be smart about this and you need to hedge with whatever is going to happen. So as a starting point, I want you to understand the top 3 military benefits that you should know about. And you've probably heard of them, but you probably don't know how to use all of them to the maximum potential. And very, very few people know all of them. So as a starting point, let's go. Number 1 is VA disability. Everyone talks about that all the time. I know a lot of you are sitting there. You were just like me. When I got out of the military, I looked down and I went, oh, great. I've got 10 fingers, 10 toes. I'm not disabled. I'm completely fine. And that's one way to think about it. But really, it's not up to you to decide what you're eligible for. It's up to the VA. And you may or may not believe it, but there's a lot of very, very smart people working at the VA who've spent a long time thinking about this. And the idea of VA disability compensation is if you've been through any sort of trauma, any sort of injury, you stubbed your toe, whatever, while in the military, if it is causing something that's going to affect you for the rest of your life, you're going to be compensated for it. And one of the reasons why the US government is so giving with this stuff is because you've sacrificed so much while being in the military. And you may think once again, oh, I flew a desk, or I never deployed, or I never really got injured or anything like that. And that's one side of it. Okay, great. There are those who did give all and gave more than some. But just by being in the military, you sacrificed working in the civilian sector where you would have made a lot more money. You'd have 10 to 20 years more experience right now, meaning that you wouldn't be as on shaky of ground with the AI revolution that's coming right now. And your family wouldn't have had to put up with everything that you guys have had to put up with. So overall, reframe the way you think about this. File for your disability and let them decide what you're owed. Okay? Don't try and push it. Don't try and go crazy. There's a lot of wild stuff out there online right now, and Instagram influencers who tell you they can get you a 100% or this and that. I wouldn't go down that route whatsoever, but go and get what you earned and you deserve. So no more and no less. That's kind of what we teach. Just as little information for you as a starting point, at 10% disability, that's $175 a month, tax-free the rest of your life. When you get up to 100% with some of the other special stuff you can add on, you're talking about closer to $5,000 a month tax-free for the rest of your life. So that's pretty significant income. That's life-changing income for a lot of people.
Noteworthy.
Yeah. Additionally, if If you do get 100% P&T, it kind of unlocks all sorts of other stuff for you. One of the biggest benefits is you can basically have the equivalent of the GI Bill for your kids, for any and all kids that you have. So you don't have to pay for college for them. So pretty awesome stuff. And then on top of that, states will help you out. The big one, for example, in Texas, if you're 100% disabled, they waive all property income or property tax, which is the big one for any Texas residents. So once again, think about your disability. Just think about it at least. And if you haven't transitioned out, make sure that on your last day, when you go in there for that final out medical appointment, you talk about anything and everything that's ever happened to you. So at least it's written down on a sheet of paper somewhere in your medical files. So later on, if you need to, you can bring it up. Cool. That's what I'm going to talk about with VA disability. Second, I want to talk about the GI Bill. People think the GI Bill is for people that want to go to college and they're 25 or whatever. The GI Bill is a wonderful, amazing product, and it is good if you do want to go to college. But people don't realize you can use it for all sorts of other things as well. You can use it for trade school. You can use it to get your commercial pilot's license. You can use it for on-the-job training, where say you're learning to be a plumber, for example. You get paid by the company you're working for, and then you also get paid by the government as well. So it's almost like double dipping while you're learning how to do something. And then the big thing that I don't know why people don't talk about this or understand this, but the other aspect of the GI Bill is you get a monthly housing allowance. So most people have up to 36 months of the GI Bill. The entire time you're doing a program with the GI Bill, you're entitled to E5 with dependents BAH. So depending where you are, if you're in Dallas, Texas, that's like $2,500 a month or something. If you're in New York City, that's close to $5,000 a month. So what I mean by this is, even if you're sitting there thinking, I don't need college, I don't need anything, I'm good to go, I'm going to go get my job, what you're missing out on is two things. One, an opportunity to better yourself somehow. Most people don't regret getting a degree, especially a degree that's free for them, which your degree would be. But then two, think of this as just a source of income for the next couple of years. This is something that is a benefit on top of that degree that you're getting or training that you're doing. You can then get this additional income that you can then put towards paying down debt, paying off credit cards, putting towards a college fund for your kids, whatever. So be smart with the way you think about the GI Bill. Don't waste it. If you're entitled to it, you need to use it. You need to figure out a way to use it in an intelligent way. The only other thing I'll add about that is, if you're going to pick an experience, think about it, break it down into 4 different reasons, 4 different whys. So the first why for doing it, and I'm going to use, let's just say, I'm going to say a particular university, like how about an MBA program? Sure. So you want to go to a good program, one, for the credential. So the credential is important to a lot of people. Some people don't care, but the people that do care, it's very important to them. You want something you can put on your sweet LinkedIn profile and on your resume when you send it into an employer. They look and you get a little tag that says, great, I went to Harvard Business School or Oklahoma State or whatever. Credential is number 1. Number 2 is the knowledge that you're going to learn. Any program that you're going through, whether it's a college, university, or a job that you're now training for, you're going to learn something from it. So make sure you pick something where you're actually going to learn and improve yourself in some way. 3, and this one's the most important in my opinion, is the network. And this is one that I didn't even think about when I went to college. And if I had thought about it, I would have done better about networking while in college. But whenever you go through a training pipeline, whether it's for a job or a university or whatever, you're going through this pipeline with a bunch of individuals who are going to be in this stressful environment with you for X amount of time, and you have this shared experience. So if you think about it, you come from all these different places together, you go through this little pipeline, and then afterwards you kind of all go off all over the world again. Do your own stuff. But you will forever have that shared experience right there, whether it was a year, 2 years, 4 years, whatever. And you'll be able to call upon that shared experience for years and years to come. So think about, who do you want to be able to call 10 years down the road when you need something. And it can mean something personally for your family, it can be something professionally, whatever, it doesn't matter. So when you're choosing an experience to have, make sure it's one that equips you with a network that's going to help you out. That was number 3. And then number 4 is the experience itself. Make sure you're enjoying yourself. Some people need to have a good time more so than others. So that's completely up to you. So to summarize those and just walk you through, for me personally, right now I'm doing this MBA at London Business School. 1, the credential's really good. If you're trying to do anything over here in Europe, it's the top European business school. 2, the knowledge. I'm learning stuff. I'm filling in some gaps in my business acumen that I didn't know beforehand, which is great. Surrounded by a lot of people much smarter than I am, which is wonderful. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room ever. 3, the network. This is, very successful people coming from all sorts of industries that are all about to start working across Europe. So very helpful for me. And 4, it's a great time. I'm living in London. I love this city, even though I complain about it. I go to the pub and drink $12 pints of beer, flat,
It's good
warm
beer.
beer. There actually is amazing beer out here. I don't mean to completely talk crap about it. Yeah, so that's the last thing I'm going to say about the GI Bill.
Hey, Clay's got a question for you if you want to take it.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, buddy.
Alex.
Sorry, jump in, anybody.
No, you're good. When I saw you were back on the schedule, I'm like, yeah, I had to say hi to my favorite Eagle driver.
Oh, hey, Clay,
Um,
what's up, man? How you doing?
not much, brother. It's good to see you again. I wanted to ask you a question real quickly. There's a lot of veterans and a lot of people that are interested in exploring employment opportunities overseas and working remotely for companies that might be based here in the States or elsewhere. What are your recommendations for people that want to explore that opportunity of working remotely internationally, and tips and tricks or ways that you would sit there and go investigate it?
Yeah. So I'm not going to be an expert at all in actually getting the employment, like being able to work remote overseas, like getting a normal job for that, like a stateside based job. But I can talk about some actual practical advice, I guess. Is a lot of people have this dream of doing that, of working remote or being a digital nomad or whatever. And then they go do it. You move abroad, you grew up in Kansas or whatever, and you're like, I'm gonna move to Thailand. And you fly to Thailand, you move over there, and you realize like, uh-oh, I can't get my Bud Light as easily and my what's everybody doing now? Whatever. I can't get all of the comfortable things that I used to be able to get back home. And a lot of people, after a couple weeks or a couple months, burn out and realize it's not something that they would actually want. So what I would recommend is dip your toes in the water first. Go plan a trip where you spend a little bit of time abroad, where you're in a situation where perhaps you're not surrounded by a language that you can speak, which, if basically for most people on this call, I'm assuming if it's outside of English or Spanish, it's going to be a little more challenging for you. But yeah, I'd say dip your toes in the water like that. That'd be my number one bit of advice, Clay. That's probably
Okay.
the best I got for you right now.
Hey, you're the international man of mystery, and I've had several of the skill bridgers here ask that question. I just wanted to get your input on that, so thank you. And
Yeah,
again,
no
it's
worries.
great to see you again, brother.
Yeah, no worries. Great seeing you, Clay. I am international. I'm definitely not mysterious at all. My wife makes fun of me and thinks I'm the biggest nerd on the planet. Um, yep. So then let's see. Number 3, when it comes to benefits, the biggest and most important benefit of them all is the VA loan. And I know you all have heard about this, but I can pretty much guarantee you that you don't know everything about it because I put a lot of thought and spent a lot of time researching this and studying this and worked with other people a lot more successful than I am. And I don't know everything about the VA loan. I learn new stuff about it all the time. What I can say is it's different for everyone depending on what your goals are. So if you are just looking for a place to live and you need a forever home for you and your family, I completely understand. Use your VA loan and buy yourself a forever home. But you need to understand what you're sacrificing by doing so. So The two main things that people don't know about VA loans are, one, you can use it multiple times. You can't, it's not just a one and done thing. And then two, you can use a VA loan to buy cash flow producing multifamily property. Now, I'll tell a quick story that I tell people. I was stationed at Kingsley Field up in Klamath Falls, Oregon, Clamtucky, we used to call it. And I was getting ready to use a VA loan to buy some property up there. And I've done a lot of research, read a lot of books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and joined Bigger Pockets and done all this stuff. And I had a pretty good game plan for what I was going to do. And I went and I spoke with my commander at the time, this Lieutenant Colonel, Eagle driver guy. Great guy, solid guy. And I asked him, hey, sir, what do you think about this? This is my plan. I'm going to buy here. This is why I'm doing it and everything. And he went, yeah, it sounds good. But, if I were you, I wouldn't do it, because if you purchase here, you're done. That's it. I wouldn't blow my VA loan here in this town. And I realized, like, in that moment, I was a first lieutenant at the time, that this lieutenant colonel who'd been in the military for basically 20 years didn't know a thing about this investment vehicle that we have, that I knew more than him when I was 24 years old.
Yeah, I've used it like 4 or 5 times.
You can keep using it again and again and again, and it doesn't always make sense to do it, and you have to sell properties to keep using it. But the point to all that is just that, I like your cat walking by.
You missed it when she came right up in my face.
Yeah. Yeah. The important part of that entire story is, don't assume anybody knows anything about this stuff, because nobody teaches it anywhere. So the majority of millionaires that are out there on the planet became millionaires using real estate. That might not be your goal whatsoever. I'll tell you, when things hit the fan and it's hard to get a job and you get yourself into a situation, a surprising situation, or medical bills or whatever, nobody's ever complaining about having too much money in those situations. So it's not bad to be building something up in the background along the way. Yeah. I guess then the quick story, the second story I'll tell about that is so how I started with my own personal real estate investing journey, which has completely took me down a different path and put me in a position where, when I got out of the military, I wasn't worried about a paycheck, meaning that the decisions that I made moving forward from there were based upon what made the most sense for me and my family, not me scrambling around like, okay, well, oh my God, how am I going to pay for my boat payment next month or whatever? So very first thing I did was I bought a 4-unit property. This was in Klamath Falls. Moved into one of the units, and the other 3 were already rented out. So from day one, I was cash flow positive. So I've never spent a dime on this property, because it's been making me money since day one. I waited a year. I bought another 4-unit property. I moved into one of those. The other 3 were already rented out. Cash flow positive from day one. After that, I ended up PCSing. So now I had 8 units sitting there. So then rented out the units I previously lived in. And then had 8 units cash flowing for me. And then from there, I was able to start buying more and doing some other business deals, wheeling and dealing. So the real estate market is completely different now than it was 10 years ago when I started this. So once again, don't let the Instagram gurus convince you that you need to go buy a property and it's easy. It's really, really hard now, and it's harder than it's ever been to find good deals, but they do exist. Do the research, because it potentially could make a lot of sense for you and your family. And people think about the cash flow, which is great, but in reality, it's the equity that you're building in these properties. That's the kind of generational wealth type vehicle. When 10 years, 20 years, 30 years go by, as they're appreciating, that's really, really good for you. Yeah. So those are the main 3 benefits, once again, to round that off. So that was the VA disability benefits, GI Bill, and the VA loan that I highly, highly recommend you guys look into. I'll just talk really quick about what I'm doing with Master the Military. So we've built a community of like-minded veterans who are all interested in this topic, like this type of stuff. They want to get smarter about it, and they want to surround themselves with other people that are along the same path. So for me, one of the hardest things when I got out of the military not to get too deep on everyone here, but it hit me a lot harder than I thought it would, meaning that I had no idea of for how much what I did I associated with who I was as a person. Because the day before I got out, I'm fighter pilot Alex, so cool, walking around with my sunglasses and my haircut. And then the next day, you walk off base, you give that last salute, and you're just a guy or gal, you know?
No more flight
And
suit insert multi-zippered sun god.
yeah, yeah. You're just some guy just walking along. And it's kind of heavy actually. Like, so I speak with I know I'm not alone with this. I've spoken with a lot of veterans as well. It's a pretty big transition for you. And then the other thing, when you get out into the civilian world, there really is this brotherhood and sisterhood that exists in the military that you take for granted and we love to complain about. But once you're out, it's gone. You're on your own. And everybody out there, they are out there for themselves. And it's a dog eat dog world. And it's the way it is, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But really finding like a community or a tribe, as the kids like to say these days, of people um, that are on board with the same kind of values and belief systems that you have is hard to find sometimes. So that was one of the other impetuses for putting together this community, is to kind of bring a bunch of military people and veterans back together to kind of give them this community that they can associate themselves with. So what we got going on inside is like a kind of like a messaging board. It's like a Facebook page type thing, but only military people and veterans can come in and be part of that. And people are posting and asking questions and helping each other out. And then we've also put together masterclass modules teaching people A to Z for how to use their VA loan, how to use the GI Bill, how to use or how to get set up with disability benefits, no more and no less. And I am getting through this much quicker than I thought I would. But basically, what's the big surprise deal that we're doing right now is I'm gonna go ahead and just swap this really quick. Basically, if you've paid attention to this point, we've got a deal. We've been working with Seven Eagle for quite some time now, and if you've stayed on right now and you're able to join during this call, I'm just gonna do a founder's rate where it's completely free. So I've just swapped the cost of it to free. If you guys want to go back to that link, you don't have to whatsoever, but as soon as this call is done, I'm swapping it back to the normal price. That should have updated.
Guys, jump on that.
Yeah. So if you guys want to jump on in and be part of this, yeah, then you're in free forever. You'll never have to pay a dime about anything at all. We really, really, really want to get as many veterans on board and understanding the power of these benefits. So yeah, we've got that offer right now. Just shut that down. If anyone's having any issues jumping into it, then let me know. Cool. I talk really fast and I talk a lot.
Hey, what are some of like the
Questions?
really weird little benefits out there you've seen? Like, holy crap, I never would have guessed that.
Okay. So the coolest one that I like to talk about, and the one I'm the biggest fan of, is VR and E. And I'd say, I don't know, probably less than 50% of people on this call would have heard about that unless someone has come in and spoken about it already. But VRNE is kind of like the GI Bill, but times 5 or something. So I'll give you the example how it's really helping me out here in the UK. So the GI Bill, what the GI Bill does within the continental United States is it pays for any in-state tuition, and then anything above in-state tuition, if you go somewhere private, they have what's called like the gold ribbon program where they cap you up and they basically pay for everything still. If you go to school overseas or do any sort of training program overseas, you're capped by the GI Bill at the 29,000 or whatever it is now per year. Anything above that, they won't pay for whatsoever. The VRNE is a program that it's not a education program, it's an employment program. It's what they're doing. It's the VA's way of helping you find employment. So it puts you in a pipeline where you have a team supporting you in whatever way you need to help you find a job. And one of the ways they can do this is with education. So they'll pay for all sorts of stuff, your entire university experience. If it's going to be more than 4 years, they'll pay for that. They can pay for you to go get a master's as well. They pay for moving expenses. They pay for you a new laptop. They pay for all sorts of really cool stuff. And I'm not going to get into all the intricacies of the how you determine if you're eligible for it or not, but it has to do with disability. So you do need to have a disability rating to be eligible for VRNE, and there's a lot of other criteria for that. But that is probably my favorite cool little program out there.
Do you know anything about? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say another cool, interesting one that not everyone knows, but not as positive, I guess, is burial benefits, where when you die, the VA will help pay for your funeral and pay your family. So that's something good to know, because anyone who's ever dealt with a funeral before knows how much money that costs and how it's not fun.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking for a cardboard box in the backyard.
I don't doubt that.
It's true. Do you know anything, speaking of, like, to take a step back from the funeral expense, do you know anything about the where you're able to collect some money as a caregiver for somebody who's P&T?
Ooh, I don't. I'm not an expert on that.
Okay, I was curious.
So yeah. Is it anybody here know more about that, or isn't
I
an
know a
expert?
little bit about that, that there is a program through some of the nonprofits, as well as there was a program within the VA that they would give you a stipend based on cost of living for caregivers for someone who was PNT, but they had to be 100% PNT, not like 90% PNT or anything like that. Um, Smitty, I'll look that up and I'll get that to you.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah,
What else?
that's good stuff right there. I mean, what's the biggest? I mean, your experience, what's the biggest payday you've seen somebody go, oh my, like your biggest success story where somebody was like, this sucks too. Holy cow, life has changed.
Yeah. The biggest one that happens to people is disability. You have people that have really been struggling with some sort of issue for years and years and years. And when you go from 0% up to 100%, I mean, that, that's the biggest one. And what's cool too is when you start the process, you do an intent to file, and then it starts this clock where then even if it takes you a year or whatever to get through the whole process, they then backdate you to when you actually did that first intent to file. So if you go from 0 to 100, that can be, or 0 to anything really, that can end up being a massive check. So that's once again, really look into VA disability benefits. That does help.
Goes a long way, especially I've been remiss on doing the health stuff because I have the other, side of the health program, so I'm guilty of it.
We all are.
Yeah, somebody asked like what's the BAH look like in UK while you go to school for an E5?
Yeah. So actually, if you're on VRNE, you can get on the BAH. Like, there's a slightly different rate for VRNE. Long story short, it's actually not good when you're overseas. So what they do is they cap you at the average for the United States, which I think is like 2,500 or 2,600 bucks a month or something like that.
That's your
Which
beer
does,
budget in London.
yeah, exactly. That does not cover that does not cover much here in this city. So that's something to know if you are going to go abroad.
Yeah, try to find a location that's as low cost to, like a Thailand, for example, low
Yeah,
cost of
yeah.
living.
Well, or just factor it in. Understand that you're not going to be making 5,000 bucks a month or whatever. So it does not matter. You can be living in Nigeria, you can be living in Hong Kong, you can be living in the UK, and you're going to make 2,500 bucks a month. That's it for the housing allowance. And it's called yeah.
Yeah, it's either you fly in from Spain every morning.
There's an idea. Wouldn't mind that actually.
There's dudes who do that because it's actually cheaper to commute from Spain every day than it is to live in London.
I think I saw some article about someone doing that. I believe it. I know people that commute in for hours. So there's a guy that's in the program with me right now that lives in Birmingham.
Ooh,
So it's like an hour and a half train every day, but he saves a ton of money by doing it that way.
yeah, loses a ton of life too.
Yeah. I guess one other like kind of cool fun thing I can talk about. I don't know if this is interesting for anyone, but anyone out there who's an aspiring like digital nomad or wants to live abroad or is thinking about moving overseas, I don't know if you've heard about this thing called the foreign earned income exception, FEIE. So as an American citizen, we a huge negative about having our passport is that no matter where you go, anywhere in the world, you're taxed on your global income and you have to pay tax back to the United States. So I'll give you the example. My wife, for example, who is a British citizen, when we're traveling around the world, or let's say you're living somewhere that's a low tax jurisdiction like Dubai or Hong Kong, something like that. So they have 0% personal income tax. So you go there, you get a job, you work, you do whatever. My wife doesn't pay any tax whatsoever. Whereas me being an American citizen, I still have to pay tax back to the United States. But if you are outside of the United States for about, I think it's like 183 days. Oh, no, but that one it's 330 days a year. So you have to predominantly be living outside of the United States. You do get a tax exemption up to it's like $120,000 of income. So if you are living abroad in a place with low or no tax and you're earning less than 120K, you can have a serious massive tax reduction. Or another cool strategy that a lot of digital nomads do is they just don't live anywhere long enough to trigger a tax obligation. So most countries around the world have about a 6-month limit. You need to live in a country for 6 months before you trigger any sort of tax obligation. Other ones have about 3 months. So if you're kind of hopping around every few months and you're living in Thailand for a few months, and then you go to Bali for a few months, and then you go to Costa Rica for a few months, you can be in a situation where you're basically paying no tax at all, completely legally. Um, yeah, but I don't know, cool little tidbit right there for anyone that's interested.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, just wrestling the tax codes is what you have to do, dude. I do not envy that.
Yeah, that's it's while you're still moving around, it's very simple. You just don't live somewhere long enough to trigger an obligation, and it's easy. As soon as you start living places, then it gets complicated. So now that I'm actually living in the UK, now it's complicated. We got multiple
So you're
stuff going on.
so you have to pay UK and American taxes?
Yes and no, because the UK and the US have a tax treaty where you don't. So I only do have to
Okay.
pay in the UK, but I still have to file in the United States, no matter what. Yeah. And then it gets really complicated as well when you have American children that live abroad, because even if, so like my kids being Americans, even if they're growing up overseas, let's say they turn 18 here in the UK and they get a job, they still need to file a tax return with the States for the rest of their lives because they're
Ugh.
American citizens. So it's just like, wow, really complicated.
Sorry to put this on you, kid, but get an accountant.
Yeah, yeah, good luck.
That's
But yeah,
good.
that's really all I got for right now. I hope a lot of that was helpful for you guys. I'll say everyone on this call right now, you're already 1,000 times further along than other people just getting out of the military, doing a normal process, because Seven Eagle is great for bringing in lots of people that probably that just do really interesting things and have very interesting backgrounds. So you're going to hear my perspective. You're going to hear 100 other perspectives. People will probably disagree with some things I've said. I'm going to disagree with some things they said. And it's great for you to start forming your own opinions about what it's going to be like in this big, scary civilian world out there.
This is awesome. Any other closing thoughts or advice you'd like to share, based on your transition out, which is obviously very different than 99.9?
Well, I mean, last thing, any questions from anybody? Want to do that? Sign off? Cool. Everybody's looking forward to lunch. Yeah, the last thing I'll say, just to kind of be serious here, is really when you get out, you're on your own. The military is like you're living, it's like when you go to a bowling alley and they put up the little bumper rails on the side. As long as you just walk down the path, you're gonna be okay. You're still gonna get a paycheck. You're gonna have a place to sleep. You're gonna have a place to live. Everything's fine. When you get out there in the real world, those bumper rails are off and no one's coming to save you. So if you need to progress your career, you have to do it. If you need to learn something, you have to go do it. No one's going to tell you to go to that training program or sign you up for whatever. it's all on you, and nobody else out there cares. So I would just say take your transition seriously, because what you do from now through the next, 5 years or whatever, you're kind of, for most people, you're kind of picking a direction you're going to go, perhaps for the rest of your life, for the finale of your career. So it's very, very important you take this seriously.
Home run. Hey,
Nice and
Alex
positive.
Lisot. Alex Lisot, former F-15 driver, Air Force, Nomad, and Master of the Military. Jump on that website now. I just signed up too because I was remiss on that. So I want to thank you once again for coming out, brother, and we will see you again.